Hello you guys, thanks for clicking on this video. So my guess is that you are planning on going camping or you're just curious about it because you've never been. Now if you're planning on going, definitely get a notepad and a pencil because I've got some tips for you. Now, to just let you know how we go camping, we go tent camping, and so we don't have an RV or a camper or anything like that, but we go about an hour and a half or so away from like a major city. So it's semi-remote. We have about a 30-minute drive to get to, say, a Dollar General. Yeah, and so it's fairly remote. There's no medical services up there. So that's something to keep in mind. But depending on where you're going, this is all just from my experience where we go. So number one is to make sure that you have that you bring some cash, because a lot of these little areas that are, semi-remote, maybe up on the mountain, even at the beach, they don't take cards. So, just keep that in mind. You're gonna need to have some cash probably, so that way you don't get stuck. They do, a lot of the places do have like an ATM where you can get some money out, but then you wind up with all the bank charges and whatever. So that's something to think about. So the next one is to make sure that you do a vehicle check, as far as checking all your fluids, check your tires, all of that stuff. Make sure you're good to go, because where we go, it's pretty far up there. You're going straight up for quite some time, so you want to make sure your radiator's good, it's full, lots of water, coolant, all of that. Just do a good check, because you do not want to have an issue with your vehicles up there. We did this year, but that's for another video, and it was coming back down and not going up, so there's that. Okay, and a couple of just tactical things. Like if you want to, food tastes so much better when you are outside cooking. Camping food is amazing. A couple tips though. This year I made some salads before we went. That way we had some stuff to just throw together with some hot dogs or a sandwich or whatever. I also made several different kinds of cookies. Another thing you can do is, if you're planning on making a big breakfast, say, bacon and eggs and potatoes and all of that, do a lot of that prep work before you go. And here's the thing. So eggs come in, a lot of the eggs that I buy will come in a cardboard carton. And when they're in a cooler, they wind up getting soggy. And then you have an issue every time you try to get ice or whatever, if you're trying to move everything around, that you can wind up cracking eggs and whatever. So this year what I did, I cracked a bunch of eggs, put my milk in it, salt and pepper, and I just put it in a mason jar. Just one of these with a lid. Tight fitting lid works perfect, and it's glass, and then whenever it's gone, you can wash it out and use it for something else. So that's definitely something to think about. Also, we go for a week, so all of the meats, like say the sausage, the bacon, burger, that kind of stuff, I take with us frozen, because it also helps keep your cooler. So there's that. And another thing is organizing your storage bins. So we are always packing for anywhere from like 4 to 5 people to maybe 15. We pack a lot of food. So we have bins that, like, I'll have one that has like all the breakfast stuff, breakfasty kind of things, the cereal, the donuts, maybe some bagels, the bread, all of that's in one. All of the snacks are in a different one. And anything that we're using for meals, say cans of chili, cans of soup, whatever the case is for that, maybe some pancake mix, all of that is in a kitchen box. I keep that separate because it's really irritating when you go to try to, get something, because it just sounds good and you're like, oh, I think I brought those pepperoni sticks with me. I know I brought them there somewhere. And then you have to spend 10 minutes going through all the boxes because nothing's organized. You don't want to do that. You want to just be able to say, oh, it's in the purple box. Oh, it's over here, whatever. You just want to know. It makes everything so much smoother, and at dinner time, it makes it easier also for everybody to help you cooking. So, oh, by the way, one of the rules at our camp is if you don't help with the cooking, you have to help do dishes. That works really well. And that's a good way to get a whole bunch of people to help you cook. Okay, next one is to make sure about a week before you go is that all of your equipment, everything you're taking with you, your tent, your sleeping bags, your lanterns, any of that kind of stuff, your flashlights, you have batteries for your flashlights. Another tip is to not store your batteries in your flashlights. Like we keep all of our camping stuff out in our shop, but we don't store the batteries in the flashlights. We remove them, store them separately. For some reason, that just seems to make them last longer. I don't know if it's a scientific thing, but that's what we've always done, and it seems to have worked. Because anytime we've left them in there, they wind up, by the time we need them, next year for camping, the batteries are dead. So just something to think about. Yeah, just make sure all of your equipment is good. The zipper on your tent works. You have all your tent poles. You have the rain fly, the thing that goes over there that helps shed the rain off of your tent. Because that's miserable. Being soaked, that's no good. You'll wind up coming home. It's awful. Okay, make sure all your stuff is good. And now here's a tip for your tent. So if your zipper is having an issue, it gets stuck or it's super dirty or whatever, you can just take some ivory soap and just run it over your zipper, run your zipper up, and it just makes it, it's really good. It works great. Just a hot tip for that. A lot of times your zipper is not broken. It just needs a little help. So let's see. Next up is to make sure your cookware, whatever you're taking up with you, whether it's new or whether it's just stored, is clean. Because the last thing you want to have to do when you get up there to your camp spot is to have to do dishes right off the bat. You don't want to have to do that. So just make sure it's clean. Either hand wash it, run it through the dishwasher or whatever. And even if it is brand new, you want to wash that stuff before you use it. Because it has coatings on it and stuff, and it even tells you to wash it before you use it. So, and if you're using, if you're going to be using cast iron, you're going to want to season it first. Because otherwise everything will stick to it. It'll be a hot mess. It's awful. And, and also, where we go, we have, they're outhouses, basically. It's ran by the Forest Service. And so, even though they check on them regularly, they always run out of toilet paper, so make sure you have toilet paper. That's a hot tip, no matter what. Keep some toilet paper in your car, maybe. Just on the daily. In your trunk, whatever. Just so that you have it, so that you're not surprised if you get stuck somewhere or whatever. It's just a good idea to have. Okay. And then the next one is to make sure you have a first aid kit of some kind. You can hodgepodge one together. Your ibuprofen, Tylenol, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe some burn spray, some Aquaphor for burns, cuts, nicks, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe some Neosporin. But just some things, bee sting kit, that kind of stuff. Some bug spray, some spray that kind of numbs the skin for if there is a lot of bugs. And a lot of people, get a bunch of bites. You got little kids and they're miserable and they can't sleep. Here's one thing. So what we do is before we go, for about 2 weeks before we go, we take garlic tablets. We take a couple each day, and then we don't have an issue with bugs. That's just something to think about. And garlic's good for you anyway. We probably should take it all year long, come to think of it. But anyway, so that's another thing we do. And what I was saying earlier is about a week before you go is when you want to make sure that all your equipment's good, your car's good, you have the cash you need. Because that way it gives you, because you're probably going to be working, throughout that whole week, and then you're going to take off on the weekend or whatever. You want to make sure that all your ducks are in a row so that you have time to, say, order something or go to Walmart or do whatever you need to do to make sure that you have everything you need. Let's see. Oh, and if you have kids, little kids especially, well, any kids. My kids are grown and we still do this. Make sure you bring games to play. Because there's lull times, you know, we go down to the lake a lot, but still there's those lull times. So it's nice to have some games to play, some cards, some dice. We do Yahtzee, all kinds of things like that. Maybe a apples to apples game or, you know, whatever. Here's the beauty of camping. You wind up, with us anyway, you wind up seeing people, when it's kind of like a family reunion scenario, which is kind of like what ours is. You wind up seeing people that you don't, you know, in your family or close friends or whatever, that you don't normally see. And so it's awesome because you have all of this time to just sit and visit and hang out and catch up and just love on each other. It's amazing. I love it. Anyway, those are just some tips if you do plan on going camping or if you were just curious about it. So So I hope these tips were helpful, you guys. And I hope you have an awesome time if you're going to go camping. And I would love to hear where you go and what you do, and if it's a family reunion or you just do like, you know, a weekend here and there. I would love to hear all about it. So let me know down in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.